getting into a game that's technically not even out yet, as it is still in early access, which means that the price tag right now, as far as the $9 they are charging, is set to rise upon its full release. Now, the game that I'm talking about for this specific segment is, of course, Repo, which is a supposed horror game. And the reason why I say that is because there's a lot of horror games that I've played and that I've seen that's a lot scarier than Repo. I think it has horror elements, but for it to be called a scary game is very interesting for the simple fact that there are other games a lot scarier. Let's just put it like that, right? As far as Repo, when you're playing with your friends, it's more of an enjoyable time with comedic scary elements or horror elements, but it's not as scary as other actual horror games. But with that being said, the reason why I said that is because when I say this particular game is a cooperative horror game, I don't want you to think that you're just going to be scared out of your mind. Horror is there, but it's more in the comedic nature. It's not like a Devour type of horror game where that's just straight up making it hard for you to sleep at night after you play that game, right? So getting back into Repo, the developers, which is Semiwork, which if you didn't know, the developer Semiwork is a small upsell Sweden-based indie team who developed this game, of course. And what they're known for is, well, what they're known for previously was Voidigo. Hopefully I'm saying that right. A colorful roguelite with a few thousand positive Steam reviews. Now, of course, they pivoted from that game because of this game, Repo, being a massive hit to the point where it's the 7th most popular game on PC. 166,000 people are currently playing the game, and it has a 24-hour peak of 246,000, which with that peak and the overall concurrent player count, one could say that now this game is a definite hit, right? Because when this was initially released in February 27th, 2025, one could argue that this was a fly-by-night type of game. You have January, you have February, now you have March. A month later, people are still playing this game, and it's still immensely popular. To be devil's advocate, Marvel Rivals is interestingly not on this list as far as the top 10 to 15 PC games. And we all know the immense success that was Marvel Rivals, right? I'm not saying they can't get back up to their popularity. Let's just say they are currently not in the top 10 as far as PC, which is very interesting as far as their release date being this year, I believe. Marvel Rivals release date. So Marvel Rivals came out December 6, 2025. So, I mean, technically it was released last year, but it was on the tail end, and December is right into 2025. So as far as them not being on the charts at all, just like 3 months after, and with this game being a month into its early access lifespan, one could argue when it goes down, maybe, just maybe, Semiwork would take this off the market and then put it back when it's ready for its full release. But currently, this game is a hit, so everybody is playing it and they're keeping it up. And like I said, it's $9, but it's set to rise upon full release. Now, of course, with that being said, the overall gameplay it's up to 6 players, right? It's cooperative, but it also does support solo play. So if you want to be a solo looter in this horror type atmosphere, which is, it's more comedic horror, but there are horror elements, then, have at it. Because I'm not going to lie to you. If I'm ever playing a horror game, just know it's never by myself. And if it is, I must have lost a bet. So with that being said, I do believe with the gameplay loop of players acting as repo agents recovering valuable items and from monster infested locations is very lethal company, but it puts enough spin and there's enough unique factors to make it where it's its own game, right? And then if you don't know, Repo is literally retrieve, extract, and profit operation. So if you didn't know what Repo stood for, now you know. So getting back into the gameplay loop, there's a lot of objects where the weight of it is prone to breaking if mishandled. So the overall mechanics of this game definitely has a learning curve, but it's not the most expert game in the world, right? There's an easy to understand way of playing the game, and then of course there's the expert way. So it has a high ceiling but a low barrier to entry. So the stealth is very emphasized in this game. You have to be stealthy or else you're just going to get taken out by the monsters, right? You got to avoid the monsters and shrink to avoid the monsters, because you want to minimalize the combat, and you do not want to fight these monsters head on when they find you. And there's a bunch of different ways to approach these monsters, which is Lethal Company-esque, and you have to learn about it in real time, or you could just do the research, but some will call that Mickey. So that being said, the extraction part of the game is once you find all the valuables, put it into the cart without breaking it or losing money, right? You're going to escape, but it requires activating a countdown platform, adding the intensity, because of course the monsters are still after you. And of course, when it comes to playing with up to 6 players, there's a revival mechanic, because when your teammate gets knocked out by a monster or anything like an explosion, gun, but more importantly, probably a monster, you have to take their heads and put it in the cart and extract that as loot and revived with 1 HP. So when you do that, a lot of people are more inclined to, when you die, go try to pick up your head instead of paying the full price of having you come back to life for the next mission. Also, when it comes to monster variety, there are over 15 unique monsters, including killer ducks, man, what in the world, and telekinetic aliens. So when it comes to performance, it's an early access, but I haven't really seen major bugs. Like whenever a game's in early access, I'm expecting major clipping. I'm not expecting like screen tearing. That's a little too much. But I'm expecting like obvious bugs to be happening in the game. But it's pretty well optimized to the point where it being an early release, I'm kind of thinking to myself, did this developing studio pull a okie doke on the player base? Like maybe this is the full, I'm not saying this is a full game, but I'm just saying Semiwork was really going to work, pun intended, as far as the optimization for this game. For this to be early access and running the way it does, having minor bugs and glitches like every game has in multiplayer aspect, it is very apparent that it is a very well thought out game and well developed game. And of course, when it comes to extra compatibility, it supports Steam Deck, and it supports ultra-wide monitors. A lot of people want to know about the future plans of this game, because when it comes to it being in early access, Semiwork had to come out and give an explanation on what the full release looks like, right? So they confirmed upcoming levels, enemies, and features. And with the monetization strategy, they plan for cosmetic releases to be more of a recommendation than actually needed. Because now when you talk about microtransactions for the cosmetics, the player base is going to get up in arms about you trying to charge for things that is aesthetic. But I don't think that's the biggest problem. I think if they held like a weapon or a tool behind a microtransaction, let's just say that tool was like very helpful in the gameplay loop, I think then they could make more of a spectacle of the monetization strategy. But as far as aesthetic and then not actually affecting gameplay, I'm not too mad at it. Also, there's the anti-cheat strategy. Who is cheating in a co-op horror game? Like, as far as these co-op games, I feel like they're for fun. Like, who is cheating to, like, what's the point? Like, is it like a actual competition? Like, oh, I'm gonna bring back more money than you, so I'm gonna cheat. Like, I don't understand. Y'all on the same team, but I don't know. But, regardless, there's an anti-cheat strategy exploring hacker management without intrusive software. So a lot of people are, taking the shortcuts when it comes to this game. And guess what? They are not going for that, as Semiwork has made sure to put in an anti-cheat strategy just so people aren't out here cheating in a game. So when it comes to critical reception and just the review roundup portion of this segment, just know that PC Gamer gave this an 8.5 out of 10, saying a fantastic co-op horror game that holds its own against Lethal Company with silly physics and chaotic fun. IGN gave this an 8 out of 10, saying endearing robots and clever mechanics shine, though it's rough around the edges. It's an early access release, so it's a minor nitpick. Gaming on Linux did not give a score, but they said it's amusing and rocketing up Steam charts despite a goofy emoji icon. Okay. Oh yeah, that is the one thing. Because when I first looked at Repo, I saw the goofy emoji and it was weird. I was like, why did they do the Apple emoji like that? Like it looks like an Apple emoji, but the way it's detailed is horrific type of, imagery because of the way it looks. And having that as the title for your game when your game looks like, well, when your gameplay actually looks like this. I'm not going to say it's misleading, but it's like you're trying to make your game look scarier than it actually is. Like I haven't seen anything in this game that's just like, man, that's spooky. Like the main thing I thought was like, you know, kind of scary was like this. It was like this huge floating head. I thought that was the scariest thing in the entire game. But with that being said, it's a very phenomenal game. A lot of people are enjoying it. When it comes to the price, once again, it's only $9, but it is set to rise upon full release. So if you want to maximize your dollars, right, and you don't want to wait till you miss the boat or you miss the wave and have to end up paying, I don't know how much it would end up costing, maybe $30, $50. But if you don't want to pay that, definitely buy it now for $10 and play it with your friends. Because I definitely plan on playing it with my friends and things of that nature, and we're going to see how enjoyable it is. And technically, it may end up being my first ever game I've played on PC, because, fun fact, I use my consoles for majority of the gaming sessions that I have, you know, shameless plug on my live streams as far as Twitch, Kick, or any of my YouTube channels, but also my link tree in my bio has all those links. Anyways, my fault, shameless plug. So when I'm playing these games live, I'm always playing on my console. But as far as playing on my PC, I wonder how that runs in general. But I guess we're going to find out, because I do plan on playing this game in the near future. So with that being said, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about Repo? Which, of course, the acronym, just to be a well, actually, is Retrieve, Extract, and Profit Operation. So now you know. That being said, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about Repo and its overall success, especially it being the 7th most played game on Steam, with it only being $9 in early access? And would you be open to trying this game? And if you do, who is the other? And it's up to 6 players. So who would you pick to embark with you upon this comedic but still horrific journey that is Repo?